Don't you? Yeah, it works. Wednesday, January 9th, we're going to try and see how this works with our shorter-ish class periods because of the whole NWEA thing, which everyone's super excited about. We're going to pick up where we left off before yesterday. Hopefully, you went through and you've taken care of your notebook. If not, take care of your notebook. We're going to clicky, crossing out the old table of contents, crossing out your old dead pages, coming up with a new table of contents, putting the entry in the new table of contents. For those of you playing the live version right now, do not have your notebook open. You can either put writing utensil in there and close it, or you can just flip it closed. But we're going to see how much of the information from yesterday stayed in your brain. So we're going to give you a chance to torture you here in a moment, and then we'll keep going from there. Clickety. Those of you playing the home version, you just get to sort of play along with this. Be all kinds of exciting. So we introduced the idea that at one time we did not have school because kids were stupid, and they grew up to be stupid adults, which grew up to be dead adults. So we had to find a way to stop them from being dead adults and hitting each other in the head with rocks. We came up with the magical idea of fables. And then it turns out there's 3 types of fables that we got into. Kimmy, there's a type of fable that has been around for thousands of years, and the longest of all of them. And what type of fable is it that's been around forever and ever and ever? That's a solid guess. I like where you went. That felt very strong.
Okay.
Sometimes you can just punch him right in the face. It helps the learning happen. Did he give you the answer? I know. He's a horrible person trying to help you. Who helps people nowadays? Well done. Traditional, which gives us the use of the scientific term, old-timey stuff. The worst thing is now we have to come back to Kimmy again until she gets one all on her own, and I have faith in Kimmy. Kimmy, this time, if he tries to help you, right there and just help the learning happen. Kimmy, then we eventually changed it and came up with what's called a verse fable, which is like a traditional fable. We write it in a completely different way, which makes it much more fun and rhymey. And Kimmy, how do we write a verse fable? Louder and with confidence before I have to use Lucas.
A poem.
Good job, Kimberly. And the fact that we have it written out as a poem, I felt strong on that one. And then we moved to what's called the modern fable, Nate. And how do we write a modern fable? You're trying to remember my scientific term I used yesterday. I'm proud of you. Nicely done. If it helps, you can look at the traditional one, and that might give you a spark of memory.
Now timey stuff.
That was
what?
That is a made-up phrase. We have to use the scientific term today-y. Nicely done. Now timey is ridiculous. And so it uses today-y, and so I ended up giving you guys several different examples that worked. Then we had to figure out the difference between just a random story about animals that you all like to watch and a fable. And there's one main thing that they all have to qualify. And Duke, what is it they have to qualify as a fable? Nicely done. It has to have a moral to qualify. Kevin, what is this mythical moral thing that he speaks of?
A lesson you learn.
And it could be anything along the lines of don't hit your friends in the head with a rock, don't give a girl answers during English class, you'll get throat punched, or the fact that you should not set squirrels on fire and let them run free in your house. Any number of things you might learn, and so eventually you will get a chance to create your own fables, and you get to create your own morals, however frightening that might be, whatever you might want to teach us. And did we get down to the 5 characteristics with you guys? So let's find out. Somebody's heard there's 5 things that make a fable into a fable and not just a random story. The first thing that we're going to get into, John, what is it every fable has to have that makes it qualify as a fable?
Animal.
No, but I like how confident you are. Nicely done, John. There's actually one thing more important than having animals.
Me.
Having a John in the story is like having an animal. You are fluffy and edible. But there is one thing even more important. They exist. Let's back up. John, why is it we created fables in the first place?
To teach morals.
Nicely done, because of the stupid people who kept dying. And so the most important thing we have to have are those morals and one edible John. And then we got to the second most important thing that goes in there, which is Liru. If we want kids to pay attention to our story all the way through, we're going to have characters that they find entertaining. And what kind of characters do kids love? And John. Good job. And so we have to have fluffy animals in there, or John, which is like a fluffy animal. And then I don't think we got to number 3 with you guys yet, did we?
Let's get
Now you can flip it back and open it up and stuff like that. We can help with the educating. Number 3, the third most important thing to qualify as a fable. Unlike with me, when I talk, if we want kids to pay attention to a fable all the way to the end, it cannot be long and rambling. Because if we were telling kids, hey, have you heard about the story of the rhinoceros and the giraffe? Like, I have not. Like, well, sit down. If you got 4 hours, this is a good one. They're like, I've already stopped paying attention. So a fable has to be short. Normally, they're going to be told in like 2 to 3 minutes. If you're going longer than 2 to 3 minutes, then that's not a fable, that's a ramble. It's a little different, unless it involves John. Then you can go up to 7 minutes. That's totally different. So, writing-wise, they're going to be like 2 to 3 paragraphs when you write out your own fables. We might have some epically long ones that might go all the way up to 5, but typically they should not be very long overall. Number 4, since we're trying to entertain children, we're going to try and keep the overall tone of our fables uplifting, light, and happy. Typically, they should be humorous and funny. The problem with saying humorous and funny, I don't mean like knock-knock joke kind of funny. Like, one day there was a squirrel, and he became a stand-up comedian. All the raccoons thought he was hilarious. That's not where we're going with it. It's more the idea of try not to depress children and make them cry when they listen to your fable. You should not go into like, one day there was a chipmunk. He had lung cancer. Every day he would cough up a piece of lung, and the doctor said, you only have 5. The kid's like, oh. You're like, so you're going to try and avoid the depressing. Now, some of you are like, cancer, that's hilarious. That's what's called having issues. That's completely different. But as far as the actual story goes, try to make them uplifting. And last, number 5, we're going to discover that fables need to be aimed at people of all ages. They're not just aimed at kids. Turns out, children are not the only stupid things that exist. Turns out there's a place where you can find stupid adults. It's called the internet. There's actually a documentary about it called YouTube. You just go onto YouTube and type in stupid adults, and like, 1 million hits. More specific. And so, because of that, we have to aim fables at people of all ages. It's not just kids running around hitting their friends in the head with rocks. Sometimes it's also adults running around hitting their friends in the head with rocks. We're saying, watch me stick this firecracker in my shirt. Oh, I made a poor choice. And so you never know when you're going to be too old to not be stupid, so aim it at everybody.
Don't not be stupid.
Next up, now we're going to keep going from here, so you're going to just keep doing more notes. It's just going to go to the next page, because I had to make it big so that you could see it. Now, for the most part, hopefully you're on the left-hand page of your notes, because if not, that'd be awful if you were on the right-hand page of your notes, because then you'd have to be recopying it all on the left-hand page. Would that be embarrassing for one of us?
You told me to do my homework on the left page.
Correct. Now, this does say in giant letters, this is a homework, which would probably be my fault for not... Wait, it is in giant red letters. Yeah, I know. You really wanted to blame me on that one, didn't you? I felt. So anyway, while she draws a picture of me and stabs it, there is a person that made fables famous. Let me give you a little bit of background and history on him, too.
Yes.
Aesop. Nicely done. It was a guy by the name of Aesop. Much like Rihanna, he had no last name. He was just known as Aesop. He was like the early version of a rock star. Like Hercules, although his last name was Smith. But other than that, the other ones are...
What?
It was Jones.
You're ruining
Now
life
it messes up my whole page.
my childhood.
Sounds like a not me issue. So Aesop, anytime you get a book of fables, it'll probably be one that connects to Aesop, because he's the one that made all of them famous, unless there's some newer ones that are going to be connected to a dude by the name of Lobel, but that's for future us to worry about. Aesop died a few years ago. I remember the funeral. It was on TV, really big. He lived approximately 620 to 560 BC. You may have seen it in the news also. With Aesop, he, even though made fables famous, he was not like some genius fable creator. He just grew up in a village in Africa where these fables were told. And what he was the kid that paid attention to all the old people in the town who told all these stories. And so he simply listened to them whenever they would show up and tell these stories. He absorbed as many of them as he could. Then one day, there were these dudes from Greece who showed up. And these people from Greece showed up and they conquered his village. And the Greeks were a little different in how they did slavery. Unlike America, who went all yay racism, the Greeks treated it differently. And the Greeks, it was just whenever they conquered a people and they showed up with their spears, they said, hey, we're going to take over your village. We're going to give you 2 options. All right, what are those options? They go, we could stab all of you. All right, what's the other option? Right, we could take you back as a slave. We're happy either way. And a lot of you are like, well, which one does not involve dying? Right, that'd be the slavery option. And so with the Greeks, It was not a race thing. They took whites, they took black people, they took yellow people, they didn't care what color you were. It was just, we could either kill you, or we could bring you back home with us. Plus, if you were a slave in Greece, you could earn your freedom. It was not a permanent thing. It was just, you came back, you hung out in our little area, you worked for a number of years until at some point you're like, hey, I've worked really hard. Have I proven my worth? I'm like, you have. You are now free. Let's go conquer another country. Get more slaves. Like, yay. And so because of that, the slavery was not a hatred thing. It was just a matter of bringing you back and having you work there kind of thing. So when they invaded, which is like inviting, but more aggression and stabbing of things. When they invaded his town, Aesop took the option of becoming a slave and went back to Greece with all the people there. Worked for a number of years, eventually ends up on a farm in Greece. One day, hanging out on this farm, he sees these kids running around, hitting each other in the head with rocks. Just running around going, thwack! He's like, whoa! Did you just hit that kid in the head with a rock? Like, yeah, this new game called Hezi Roxy's. He's like, you shouldn't play that. They're like, thwack! Why? I just got a point. He's like, haven't you ever heard the story about the rhinoceros and the giraffe? They're like, thwack! No. So Aesop then tells these kids this story he heard when he was younger. Kids found it fascinating because this was 12 years before the invention of Netflix. Kids had nothing to do except sit around and watch trees grow and watch rocks roll. And they're like, Hezi Roxy was the best thing ever, except for this guy telling stories. And they're like, it's like Netflix, but live. And they got all excited. So they ended up inviting their friends over to come listen. Like, you got to hear this old guy talk. Like, is it better than watching a tree grow? They're like, yeah, like, I'm in. So the kids came over, and they would all listen to him tell all of these stories. He almost became famous in this area for telling stories. Everyone started coming over and hearing him. Even adults would come by. And they're like, I was playing Hezi Roxy, and then this old man told me not to. It was great. He works his way all the way up to the emperor of Greece himself. And the emperor finds out about all of this. Now, when you tape in that paper into your notebook, you're going to have to tape it really well. Because if I can tell it's been taped, I don't count it. So the little pieces of paper, the tape you put on the back is going to be way too janky to count it. So you're going to have to find a way to like tape it around the edges and make it much stronger. Well, then you probably have to make sure you write a reminder to yourself, because if not, I'll just yank it out later and taunt you, and that would be awful. But I have faith in you to remember such things, because I know I'll write myself a note to remember to torture you to help you become a better person.
Oh, aren't you just lovely?
Because I care. Lily.
Okay, so a better comparison of someone who has a first name is Aristotle.
That would also, or Socrates, if you want that, or Rihanna, or Bob. So he ends up working his way all the way up to telling these stories to the emperor himself. And the emperor's super excited. He's like, this guy's great with all this whole storytelling thing. And the emperor begins to use Aesop to tell stories to people from other countries. Whenever like people from Italy or Spain would come by and visit, he was like, hey, welcome to my well-known place of Greece. Have you heard about the stories about not hitting people in the head with rocks? And the emperor of Spain is like, whack. No. And so he would then tell stories to these other people. And so he ended up becoming really famous throughout Greece just for telling these stories. So famous, he eventually was able to get the one thing that all slaves want. That is? Nope, it was a new car.
What?
Kidding, he was free. Eventually, he earned his freedom in Greece. And the emperor was like, you know what? I think you have earned yourself freedom. The fact that you have proven yourself worthy of being here. We would love to have you become a member of Greece. And as soon as he got freed, what does he start doing?
Probably died.
No, telling stories.
Oh.
He's like, I'm making fat bank, yo! And so Aesop starts holding concerts and making all kinds of fat cash and becomes rich throughout Greece. And he held concerts. Instead of like singing songs, he told stories about like donkeys and monkeys and stuff like that. People got all excited and came and listened to him. The thing is, Aesop was not creating most of these stories. He was just a really good storyteller. He stole most of these stories from other people.
Plagiarism.
Often, that's what we're going to get to, oftentimes at the ends of these concerts he would have, people would come up and talk to him like, hey, love the stories, but you didn't tell the one about the monkey and the dolphin. He was like, I don't know that one. So then people would tell him that story, and then he was like, can I use that? And they're like, you want to use my story? Absolutely. And then he would use that story and get even more to keep going, and so he got all these free stories given to him. The problem is, as Nate points out, there's a name for that when you take everyone else's stuff and don't give them credit for it.
Copywriting.
Nowadays, it gets you sued Back in Greece, it got you fat bank. So essentially, that's what that big blob thing there, you're more than welcome to paraphrase that down. It simply says, Aesop was a plagiarist. He aggressively borrowed all of these stories from other people that were then told to him, and he managed to reuse all of them.
That seems just as long.
Same length, yeah.
However, you want to paraphrase it just because I like to ramble, and you might be less rambly than me.
He was a plagiarist, good storyteller.
Yeah, he was an expert storyteller. People loved his voice.
Yeah.
And then some people were not good at learning about not doing stuff on the right-hand side, even though other people just got paid. That's the left, that's the right. One side is correct, one side is the wrong side. So, yes, turning to the next left-hand page. I know. I can't wait till I get to my advanced class. They figure this stuff out much faster. So now we have Aesop making fat bank and things are going well, and this goes on for years. Till one day, a war breaks out. And in this big war that breaks out, Greece is involved in it, because around this time period, Greece was involved in every war, because that's what Greece did best, was go out there and fight people. At the end of this war, the emperor asked his generals, who is it that helped us do best in this war? Who supplied us the fiercest fighters? And his generals said, the city-state of Delphi. They were the most impressive. Without them, I'm not sure we could have won. So he decides he wants to reward the people of Delphi. So he goes, here is what we're going to do for the people of Delphi. They sent us the strongest, fiercest, most impressive fighters. So we're going to send them a giant bag of gold to be distributed among everyone there. 3 pieces of gold for every person in the village. We're like, oh, that's pretty nice. He's like, I'm not done. On top of that, we're going to send Aesop to deliver the gold to everybody. And then after he's delivered the gold, he's then going to give out a whole bunch of money to everybody there. So it's like the best prize ever. And they're like, yay! It's like finding out the Beatles have come back to life and they're going to throw money at you. And they're like, hashtag winning. It's like, all right, best thing ever. So they give Aesop this giant bag of gold. He gets on his little donkey. He's like, wee! And he takes off and goes down to the city-state of Delphi. Shows up there. Arrives, he goes, my name is Aesop, and I've got a giant bag of gold to distribute to everybody. And they're like, yay, we love you, and the gold. He goes, so here's what's going to happen. I need all of you to get together in a big line, and I'm going to give each one of you 3 pieces of gold. Once we've handed out the gold, I'm then going to have you guys come together on this big hill over here, and I'm going to tell you guys stories, and we're going to say thank you for the fact that you guys helped us win this war. Does that work? And they're like, works for us. He's like, all right. He goes, go ahead and get in the line. As they start to get together, some of the men who fought in the war come over to the side and they go, hey, Aesop, can we talk to you? He's like, yeah, what's up? He goes, we have a problem. And I was like, well, what's the problem? And they go, well, here's the issue. We don't think it's fair that you're giving everyone in this town 3 pieces of gold. He goes, why is that not fair? They go, well, we went out and did all the fighting and the stabbing and the chopping and the cutting and the dyeing and stuff like that. And Bob over here only has 1 leg. And we feel that we've probably earned more than those 3 pieces of gold, whereas everyone else got to stay back home and they weren't in danger. So really, it wouldn't be fair if all the people in the fighting got 4 pieces of gold and the rest of the town got 2 pieces of gold. That'd probably be the proper way to honor us. And Aesop goes, oh, well, that's an interesting point. Okay. Well, and before he can continue, the women stand up. And they go, we have a problem with that. And they go, what's your issue? And they go, well, here's our issue with that. So, during this war, all you boys went out there and did your stabby-stabby thing. For the most part, boys like doing that anyway. You guys stabby-stabby each other, even if there's not a war going on. So rewarding you for it is not a big deal. Plus, everyone knows Bob was born with 1 leg, so that doesn't really count. So we had to stay back home and take care of all the rapscallion children running around, like peeing everything and like eating all the food. There's all kinds of issues. So the fact that you guys got to have like a vacation playing stabby-stabby with friends, and we had to take care of the kids, we believe women should get the 4 pieces of gold and everyone else should get 2 because we really did all the work. And the men and the women start yelling back and forth. And all of a sudden the farmers step up and they go, well, can we vote also? He's like, what's your issue? The farmers go, here's our problem. While they're out there playing stabby-stabby, and all of the girls are over there taking care of their own children, we had to give up our crops so that you guys didn't die of starvation and we didn't get paid for it. So really, farmers should be getting the 4 pieces of gold. No, we should be getting 5 pieces of gold to make up for all the food we gave up. And you all should be getting 1 piece of gold because we did all the actual work while you guys got to have fun and you took care of all your own kids. And they all start arguing and yelling back and forth. And Aesop sees all this happen. He goes, all right. He goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. Can we all agree that you all did something and that equals out to the 3 gold pieces apiece? And they go, no, you decide. Who gets more? He goes, all right, let's do this. He goes, I have a solution to show you that working together solves things the best. And they go, yay, solutions. He goes, all right, follow me. And he picks up the big thing of gold and he starts walking out of the village. And the whole town comes behind him. They start walking behind him. He's like, walla, 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 walla. And he goes all the way down to the shore.
The end.
Tomorrow we're going to find out what he does with our big thing of gold.